Eden vivió 930 años. Matusalén, 969. For 950 years, Noé lived on this land. And you, who I'm listening to right now, probably won't make it to the age of 100. 2. For what reason? What happens between these early phases of the process and our lives? How would a doctor who is so stigmatized and repentant go about her life? Nearly violent. This is the I wonder if we will be able to answer today. And the answer is not un castigo. The act of misericordia is more profound than understanding the entire text. Before you finish this film, you will understand why your own life, with 70,000, 80,000, 90, is neither a reduced nor an empowered version of human existence. Conversely, together, we will discover why Dios, in his knowledge, made the decision to arrange our days, and why that decision did not completely change the way you should be living each day of your life. Greetings from Discovering the Bible. We begin by acknowledging something significant. The majority of people read the Genesis genealogies, such as those who read a brief letter from a contract without stopping, hoping to quickly arrive at the next story with more action. However, such names and numbers were not put in the air. These records are kept with nearly identical care, generation after generation, with a very clear purpose.
Demostrándonos que algo estaba sucediendo en humanidad al mismo tiempo. Adán, formado directamente de la polvo por el aliento de Dios, vivió 930 años, según nos dice Génesis capítulo 5. His son lived. Música 1912. Enos 905.
And so, generation after generation, and names follow with numbers that seem unattainable to us now. Matusalén, the oldest man mentioned in the Bible, reached the age of 969. And Noé, the greatest individual to have survived cataclysm in human history, lived for 950 years. However, something changes as we reach the 6th chapter. The text depicts an unsettling scene in which some beings, known as the sons of God, and others, known as the Nephilim, renowned men, and poderosos, littered the land with violence and depravity. There are various interpretations throughout the tradition regarding who exactly these sons of God were.
Judeocristiana. Y es honesto acknowledger esto en la luz de la posibilidad de presentar solo una versión. Hay algunos comentadores antiguos, y el apocrical Bugnonas Enoch, que no es incluido en el canon de literatura. Es decir, no es un buco que la tradicional Church acknowledgería como inspiracional, pero sí tiene un impacto en la forma de pensar de la nación.
They suggested that it was about angelic beings that rebelled against God's established order. Other commentators, such as Rashi, one of the great judicial interpreters of the Torah, understood that it was about human rulers or judges who gave themselves almost divine authority, exercising the absolute and brutal power over others. And a third interpretation, supported by a significant portion of later Christian tradition, suggests that the sons of God were descended from Set, the Piedosa line that blends indiscriminately with the line of Cain, losing the distinction between what is sacred and what is not. Come, N. Whichever interpretation you prefer, this is what the text makes clear. They were destroying the boundaries that God had set for a specific purpose, and the outcome of that confusion was a humanity rife with violence, corruption, and evil that was no longer sporadic, but rather constant. The Hebrew text uses a very specific word to describe this condition. Even while it is translated as violence, it actually refers to something far broader, a widespread injustice, an abuse of power over the weak that has been the standard for human coexistence. Verses 11 and capitolo 6. It's straightforward. The land was full with that violence, and in the midst of that gloomy or depressing scene, the book offers us a contrast that we shouldn't go overboard. Noé, as the text states, was neither perfect or just in his generations,
and walked with God. Only one guy maintains the integrity of his relationship with the Creator in the midst of an entire humanity that has corrupted its path. This shows us something fundamental to everything we will be thinking about today. Extreme longevity was not, in fact, the direct cause of Maldad. According to the passage, no one had exactly the same gift, kind of long life compared to their contemporaries. However, I need a camino distinto. The Bible teaches us that those who are far away do not force anyone to have sex, but rather that those who are far away, without a heart that is directed toward God, turn into people in the amount of time that is available for the Maldad to deepen and spread. One of the most important diagnoses in the entire text is found in Thesis, chapter 6, verse 5, which states that a man's maltreatment was based on the idea that all of his thoughts and intentions were not limited to the bad times. This is the key word that I want you to remember throughout the entire film. The word used in the original language has to do with the profound inclination of the human heart, with the imagination that gives shape to our desires before they become actions. God wasn't just looking at what people were doing, but also at what they were doing and what they discovered was devastating. After many years of life, there is no longer a chance to develop one's knowledge. Instead, it is a fertile ground where one's mistakes get more and more profound. It is precisely in this setting that the phrase that gave rise to today's question appears. No contender my spirit with the Om Pada, declares God. Always, Karn and up to 120 years old is Porqué. Without exaggeration, this is one of the most significant biblical stories. From this point on, there is a permanent change in the relationship between God and humanity. Now, this is where a lot of people get confused, and I think we should pay extra attention, because there is a legitimate way to understand this verse, and being honest with the text means acknowledging it. A really thorough first reading understands that God is establishing an upper limit to human life here for the first time. Nobody will live to be 120 years old in the future. The issue with this reading, if we take it literally, is that the biblical text itself contradicts it in a few chapters. Noah lived 950 years ago, which is far more than 120. And this comes after the sixth text declaration. Abraham, 175. Sarah lived 127 years. As for an immediate and universal limit, Escritura herself shows us significant exceptions right before it was announced. Because of this, a second interpretation that is supported by a significant portion of traditional and religious knowledge and acknowledged in comments such as the Bereshit Rabbah Midrash, views these 120 as the imate of an individual's life, rather than as